global posture. While geopolitical shifts are also carrying on, we've seen already another trip recently, and around, to several developing nations in Africa and elsewhere, where Prime Minister Modi tried to strengthen India's presence. This time in London, um, India and UK finalized a long-pending free trade agreement with the Labour government. The deal was not just yet another transaction; it had a lot of symbolism. The joint appearance with Prime Minister Starmer marked a thaw in relations, which have cooled under Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak due to Kashmir and diaspora protests. Why those protests had so much influence in UK um, is due to the fact that those communities are quite significant in number, and they had a lot of voting power over the governments. Now, with economic realignment being higher on both nations' agendas, the focus is now shifting to mutual market access, technological, technology exchanges, and also defense cooperation. And this is especially relevant given the situation with the United States, which appeared to be economically promising, but became reached somewhat of a stalemate, if not worse, over the tariffs situation. Of equal significance to the London trip is the ceremonial participation of the Indian Prime Minister in the 60th Independence Day celebrations in the Maldives. This was not merely a diplomatic courtesy, but a timed reassertion of India's strategic influence in the Indian Ocean region. The Maldives, under President Mohamed Muizi, had pivoted toward China in recent years, embracing infrastructure loans and military training programs, just like many developing countries in Latin America and other parts of the world. This important visit and the warm reception it received signaled a potential reset after controversies over Chinese presence in the Maldives and Indian presence, and and there was an attempt to draw back the Maldives into New Delhi's sphere of influence. In both stops of the trip, trade, defense, and maritime security were high on the agenda. In London, Indian tech firms and green energy companies were getting various investment assurances. The UK, on the other hand, received guarantees of agricultural and pharmaceutical imports. In the Maldives, India extended a credit line for renewable energy projects and coastal surveillance systems. So, this is not simply an economic transaction, but also a strengthening of strategic ties. And this was a very calculated move by Prime Minister Modi, who steered away from ideological um, trends and instead leaned into India's strengths, which are market size, digital capacity, and extensive geopolitical leverage. Now, London is a very traditional Western capital. On the other hand, Maldives are a fairly small island. Mali is a small, symbolically vital island partner. But all of that underscores India's dual-track diplomacy, which courts both global powers and regional neighbors to balance China's growing footprint. Um, Now, for in terms of home audiences, these visits were framed as examples of India's growing stature. There was, of course, a lot of coverage of the red carpet reception, ceremonial honors, and strategic deliverables. The opposition has been trying to criticize these travels uh, as essentially diverting attention from domestic economic concerns such as youth unemployment in terms of strategy. But to be honest, youth unemployment is an issue that's long term, whereas diplomatic achievements create resets that make combating these long term issues possible through investments, through economic growth, and so forth. Overall, this diplomatic swing has been tactically effective, strengthening these important bilateral frameworks. It did open new commercial pathways, and hopefully, if they implement it effectively, they will generate the sort of employment growth and opportunity growth that India hopes for, and also positioned India as an indispensable Indo-Pacific partner, reinforcing Prime Minister Modi's image as a statesman capable of engaging both emerging markets and Western power centers on equal terms, an image that India has been trying to cultivate as a sort of unique posture, a sort of leader both in global communities and among international power centers and the global south.
Absolutely, Irina.